President Trump's 90-day tariff deadline looms as countries face higher tariffs if deals aren't made in the next few days. Phil, beyond the kick the can scenario, what are other likely outcomes if deals aren't reached?
So I think kicking the can down the road scenario is probably the most likely. But absent that, what I think will probably happen is similar situations that we had with the UK, which is agreements in principle where the readouts from both sides actually are quite dissimilar, and there is agreement to have discussions around future tariff negotiations with some small symbolic reductions in tariffs, potentially on both sides. The main issue here is trade agreements take a long time to negotiate, and especially if you're trying to negotiate around non-tariff barriers, which usually take changes in domestic law, which generally take a long time to do.
Beyond price increases, what are other potential long-term consequences on U.S. relationships if deals aren't reached?
There are really large effects on prices, and we should keep that in mind. Estimates say that if we increase tariffs along the lines of the Liberation Day tariffs, Americans would see about a 7% increase in prices, and GDP in the United States would go down by somewhere in the range of $200 billion a year. So those are big impacts. But in some sense, even more important is the increased uncertainty that we all face because there's this will they, won't they, on again, off again effects of tariff negotiations. This will happen even if we decide on new tariff rates because the administration is not trying to change tariffs through Congress, which would make them durable. They are simply using executive action.
How might continued trade disputes and tariff policies impact the existing international order and possibly create new economic blocs?
It's important to note that the changes in trade policy are already changing the way partners are thinking about interacting with the United States. We are going back on a large number of multilateral and bilateral agreements that we signed and are in law. Now, that doesn't mean that people are going to change their economic behavior with us all at once, all at the same time, because these things take a long time to change. Canada, for instance, is immensely integrated into the US economy, that we've had 30 years from the US-Canada Free Trade Agreement through NAFTA and now USMCA integrating those economies. But over time, and especially if we continue with this somewhat erratic and somewhat coercive trade policy, partners will slowly but surely de-risk from us. Canada, for instance, just shipped its first shipment of liquid LNG, natural gas, to South Korea, which is a big move, diversifying their energy market away from the United States.